How's it going? Hello, and welcome back to Fools in Fiction. We are the Fools, and this week we are talking some more about bad good films and good bad films, and maybe what that even means. Hello, Joe. I know I already said hello to you earlier, but this is now I'm podcast Finn. A code switch.
And I've become Joe mode. Too.
Yeah, and Joe turns it. We did our magical girl transformations. I went from Finn to podcast Finn, and Joe went from Joe to Joe too. So you had the idea for the episode today.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this earlier, and it really sparked in me because I was watching Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. And before you get really angry at me for even implying that's a bad movie, I love that movie. But I didn't like the redoing as much, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp. And that made me think about like other movies that I thought weren't good, and stuff like that. So that's just kind of what we're going to use to influence this discussion. So when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, there are probably these criteria for like how to make a bad movie. And so the first one I thought of after thinking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory
which
was
which kind of
Scary
bad
Movie 2,
like good bad movie or bad good movie?
These are I think this is a bad movie, and it's Scary Movie 2, which you and I watched, and Chris, and I think Cody and Suze.
I forgot until that movie said that.
It was unbearable.
It was awful.
Being drunk did not make that movie any better, shockingly. So, where I think that movie is bad is that like, it just does not know what it wants to be, and it's not like memorable in any way other than being bad. Like I do not remember a single thing about that movie other than I hated it.
So, do you want to go through your criteria, or should I jump in with kind of a side thing?
Give me the side thing, and then I'll go to the next one.
So since last episode, I binged watched for some reason a lot of YouTube essays / like shouting arguments in the "Can you have objective art criticism" debate, which is not a very healthy place on YouTube, to say the least. But it got me thinking about it a lot, and I've changed my mind on a lot of previously held beliefs. So I think that I mean, this is just after me watching YouTube, that you can't have objective art criticism. So like when we say bad movies, the first bad might not really be meaningful. However, I think that what we really mean is stuff we didn't like. So I think that just like putting things into that caveat just kind of saves us. Unless you think that we can have objective art criticism, in which case there's more of a discussion to be had there.
Well, so like the preface for this should be that like this is just like us talking about our opinions. This does not preclude you from like enjoying a film that we didn't enjoy. But I also think that like there are two different types of bad movies. There are like movies that are made to be bad, or that like kind of fundamentally are bad. So like The Room is a bad movie, in like a transcendental way, in that like it just has so many things going against it. It's enjoyable. I love watching The Room, but I don't know how to like best explain it.
It has a very strong aura of a bad movie, I think. But I think if I'm thinking about it in the new framework that was injected into my brain, I think that I don't know if we can say it's a really bad movie, because one, it's enjoyable. Two, you can have movies that go against the author's intent, or the like director, writer, blah blah blah's intent, and still come out well, right? But I don't really
That's
know if
fair.
the point I'm making is a very like useful bit of discussion in what we're actually talking about. It was just something I'd been watching on YouTube.
No, I think that like the thing is that like bad movie can have meaning in that like I didn't like this movie, but
Uh-huh.
I think that it exists kind of as a genre as well, where like it's kind of like pornography and how it's defined, where it's like I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Um, so like if you put Rocky Horror in front of me and I had like no idea that it was a cult classic or anything, I'd be like, this has the aura of a bad movie. But I think it's like still fun and very enjoyable. There's a reason that it, sees as much success as it does,
Yeah.
cult wise.
I think the
But
kind
like,
of
so,
sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead. Oh,
Oh,
God damn it.
I'm going ahead. uh, the last thing I was going to say about that was I think that the kind of basic idea is that when you say something is a bad movie, you're really saying, or a good movie. Anytime anyone offers some kind of quote unquote objective quality analysis, they're really just saying something else in disguise. And so if you kind of frame it in a more subjective way, then you kind of get more to the heart of what you're talking about. Like I know in our bad movie episode we talked a lot about well, I actually don't remember it at all, but I know things people can talk about is whether or not they enjoy
That's the
it,
way it
whether or
goes.
not it matches genre conventions, whether or not it matches the intent of the creators, and those are all like different qualities of the movie. But the whole kind of argument for subjective art criticism is that it's not very useful to sidestep all of those kind of conversations and just proclaim it good or bad. You know,
Yeah,
I don't think that this means anything about what we're
so
talking about. I think we're valid.
I hope so. So the next thing that I was thinking about is that like is something that can make a quote like bad movie. I'll say like a disappointing movie for this even.
Okay.
Is if it cannot overcome a previous sense of nostalgia.
Ooh,
Which is
what do you mean by that?
So I've been thinking about this a lot. So Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the 2005 one with Johnny Depp, is far more accurate to what's in the actual book. And so you would think that like purists would be like, oh, this is the better version, it gets things right. But the 1971 version, I think, is when it came out with Gene Wilder, is so nostalgic, and has such like a strong history behind it that the 2005 version couldn't like overcome that, and that's why a lot of people are disappointed in it, at least in my eyes.
The context of what people are expecting with that same kind of thing.
Yeah. So another big thing about that is this is why things like Terminator sequels, the more recent ones, and like the new Star Wars franchise, I won't say either of those are bad, but I will say that a lot of like criticism and like disappointment that people had in them, I think has to do with that nostalgia factor.
Because they've got a much higher bar kind of due to their precedents.
Yeah. Which is really interesting because like when you're supposed to, when you want to review something, like theoretically you want to do it in a vacuum, but it's like impossible.
Yeah. I think kind of on the flip side of that, there's the whole question of whether quote unquote bad like remakes or sequels in a beloved series makes the original stuff worse. That's an argument I know Chris has made. Now I'm strawmanning Chris while he's not here. Oh, I'm never making that noise again.
um,
Like I know Chris says like if he sees a movie, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you listen to this, but if he sees a movie in a series that he does like and he doesn't like the movie, then he doesn't like the series anymore. Like he'll say like that ruined the series. Do you think that that's what do you think about that? I think you can tell I'm not a big fan of that opinion, but I think I can see where he's coming from.
I can yeah, that's the thing. It's like I can understand that opinion, especially in like examples where it really undercuts something in the previous or like drastically changes characters.
Oh, yeah.
So like a lot of people disliked the Matrix sequels. And therefore, even though they're like the Matrix is very good, or they feel that it's good, or they felt that it was like a great movie, they still are like, oh, but I feel differently about this character.
I think that like even though like technically you can invoke death of the author in order to quote unquote like get around that criticism, it doesn't change the fact that it does change your enjoyment of the previous movie with that context, which is what I think you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I know this is something people are talking a lot about with how much cursing there is in the new Star Treks, which I love, but everyone else hates. People are
I can agree to that. That and like another really good example that's near and dear to my heart is towards the end of like the Harry Potter franchise. There is some like dirt exposed on Dumbledore, and we're supposed to take it with a grain of salt. Hold on, because the person writing it is supposed to be unreliable, but I know a lot of people in the fandom were kind of like, I can't see Dumbledore the same way now that I've read this or whatever. And I think that's a really interesting problem. Yeah. Well, I say problem like in like something to grapple with, not something that is bad.
Yeah.
So another one of my criteria or like things that can happen is kind of the inverse what we just talked about, where it doesn't adapt something faithfully enough or like makes major changes. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about. So the one I thought about for this was that when the Killing Joke movie came out, they added into it, spoilers for the Killing Joke movie, I suppose, that Barbara, Batgirl, and Bruce, Batman, have like sex, like a very it is explicit that they have it. It is not explicit in showing it.
I gotcha.
But that is something that is like not at all present.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
sorry.
If they had made it actual porn, it would have been fine.
Yeah, only
no.
porn
So
is valid.
the thing about it is that it's true. So the thing about that is that like that is not accurate to the comics at all. And it was so I'd also like to argue against my position a bit just to like clarify.
Okay.
Because there is so in another continuity, in like the Batman Beyond continuity where it's in the future and everything, like Barbara and Bruce have a sexual relationship, and it doesn't get resolved well. The characters do not resolve it well. I won't speak for like how it's resolved in fiction, or in writing it, but that one is done a lot more carefully and done in something that isn't an adaptation. It's in their own writing that they're adding it in. Whereas for the Killing Joke, like you're taking one of the best known comics of all time and putting something into an adaptation of it that, pardon me, kind of is not quite totally against, but really confuses character development that's in the original.
So you're saying that if you're adding something like very tonally different, it's nice to kind of push it a little farther away from what we already know so that it doesn't clash as much.
Or like just be slow about it. Like don't immediately cut to these characters doing something so tonally different. Like build up to it. And when you're like, oh my God, like how could he do this? Like have build up to it that it's not quite as shocking. For listeners that want a far better discussion of The Killing Joke than I could give, H Bomber Guy did a video on not only the adaptation but also on the comic book, and it's very well done. Huge props to him. All right, I'm trying to think of more criteria because I had a couple more.
I know we're just kind of getting points out left and right. I don't know how cohesive this is, but I think that's fine.
Yeah, this is not one of our like scripted episodes. And I don't know how scripted future episodes will be during this.
Oh no, you don't understand.
Period,
I'm reading off a script right now. You're the one who's not scripted. I'm totally scripted. I've got my teleprompter right here.
But another thing, and I don't know if I want to end with this, but this is definitely like we kind of covered this ground last time we talked about this, so I don't want to dwell on it too long, is that a film has to be comprehensible. And I have to go back to it. I have to break the point. Primer is an awful movie because you cannot understand what is going on. Primer is an excellent movie because it does so many good things and the cinematography is great. And once you figure out what is going on, the story is excellent. But like when you watch that the first time, especially if you have like if you're watching it and you don't have anyone else that has seen it to like explain stuff, you are so fucking lost watching that movie.
Okay. I think that this is an instance where I can inject the knowledge and opinions that have been injected into my brain of late. I think that if I can retain them, one sec, I have to gather them back. I had them; they kind of wandered out. Oh, right. Okay. I think that it's a really interesting and valuable artistic choice to make Primer so confusing and that you have such a bad time watching it the first time. I think that it would be if there is an objective quality, I think it would be worse were it enjoyable the first time you watch it, because I think the confusion is part of the allegory of the story.
So I think you're right, and therefore I think like that it shouldn't be changed to be more enjoyable. But I still think that it must be like you must preface a discussion of Primer and other movies like it, like Donnie Darko, by saying like the feelings you get during this are part of the experience, which I think is like
that's exactly
very different. Because like, and when you're watching, I don't know, like Transformers or whatever, and the good guy wins, like your feeling of happiness is not part of the viewing experience in the same way that the confusion of watching Primer is part of it.
Yeah, it's like the never mind. I was about to say something dumb. You're totally right.
Got him. Oh god. My computer keeps going into sleep mode every like 5 minutes, so I keep thinking that like the podcast explodes when this happens. I'm trying to think of like other good examples.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think of examples. What have I seen recently? I watched Tiger King. I don't really want to talk about Tiger King.
Oh, well,
I don't know how this would fit into it.
I'm going to I'm going to force you, but only for my personal pleasure of asking, is it worth watching?
Yeah, it's good. It's not as good as the hype is. I totally agree with Critical's review. If Critical goes more into depth about why he thinks that.
Yeah, I heard his review and kind of put off watching it because of it, like not indefinitely.
Yeah, it's not mandatory viewing.
Like, maybe I'll look at Greener Pastures now.
I think if you do watch it, you should watch it with other people. Because it's fun to kind of react to things as they come up with other people. Sorry, I don't know how that relates to the topic at all.
It doesn't, but that's the way this show works.
See, now is our aesthetic, does our aesthetic of not always having our shit together make us better? Does it make us good bad or bad good? That's the question. I'm hoping the first.
So
because it offers a more accurate
will not take
picture into our lives.
No. Yeah. So I think this is gonna get meta, but like I think I would not enjoy this as much if it were more put together. Because
I can just hear my mom going, "Oh!"
So like,
but no, I agree with you.
So what I kind of wanted to do with this is a little bit of peeking behind the curtain, is to replicate those late night discussions that you have with your friends at college, that when it's 2 a.m. and you can't sleep and you just want to talk, kind of replicate that, but without like the insomnia. And those discussions are not scripted at all. You don't walk into those discussions intending to make a certain point. You just kind of amble about it. And so I think that this aesthetic of not being as prepared better reflects that, even if it might make the content not as accessible to like people just starting out.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm totally on the same page. I don't think we always get to that level, but that's just like due to our relative inexperience as podcasters. And I think that something that does hurt the show is just like audio problems, because that's not something that is like connected to our goal of replicating those kind of conversations, right?
Yeah.
So the audio problems make this a bad, good, bad thing, whereas the not totally everything, all the thoughts together make it a good, bad thing.
Yeah, like if we wanted to make a slightly more unhinged podcast where like cutting out and everything is part of the bit, that would be one thing. And like to some extent, it's going to be hard to deal with audio just because, we're broke college students. And so the aesthetic seeps in even into the production. But like, if given the opportunity, I would definitely like have the best audio I could for this and still be rambling like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Although I think that having the bad audio does add to a different aesthetic that we're going for, but I think it's still a good aesthetic. I don't think it's in like some weird artistic sense, maybe it's a good aesthetic, actually. I think in terms of what viewers want, which is kind of the important thing, it's not a good aesthetic.
I suppose. I also think there's levels to it, because like, if it's just not the best sounding audio, that's one thing. But like when we were doing this last summer, when we had like a shit ton of audio problems of cutting out, and I'm sure we're gonna have some now, that's something that I'm not like super happy about, but I literally cannot fix that on my end, because this, like, my home internet is the only internet I have access to. So we're like doing the best that we can. I don't know.
I think that The big game here. The big game, is that a phrase?
The
Not the long game.
end game?
Not the end game. The big brain move is where I was trying to go.
Big picture?
No, the big brain move. The big brain move here is we call this music.
Oh, no, we can't do
Yes.
that. Can we legally get away with that?
We just rocket boosted off of John Cage right there, and we are on a whole nother level of musical composition. It's aleatoric, it's improvisatory, it's yeah.
This is really good catharsis, though, because I thought I was never going to be good at improv music, and now I'm the world's leading expert on avant-garde improv music.
Yeah. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
It only gets back at like the 5 people. No.
Yeah, I've had a long day.
I relate to that. I was gonna
wrap this up. I know I've been a long day where I didn't do anything. Sorry.
It's fine. So next episode will hopefully be discussion of the newest season of My Hero Academia.
Maybe these next 2 weeks are going to be fairly busy for me.
That's fair.
We shall see.
Depends. If it's not, I mean, we're going to do that episode at some point. So it just depends on like how fast Finn can watch it.
Yeah, I'll be much more free once the summer starts. I'll be able to watch whatever, to read whatever. It'll be great.
That's the weird thing for me, is that like, so because of the way summer classes are working, I am simultaneously like very free and also not free at all. So it gets to be fun. All right. Are we gonna do our shout outs?
Yeah.
Or
do I remember any of them?
I think I remember all of them, so I'm gonna let you do.
Okay.
And then
okay. And then you correct me. All right.
Yes.
Email us whatever you want at foolsandfiction@gmail.com. My brain just went, sign up for our newsletter. No, that's not real. We don't have Patreon.
God,
we don't
I
have
wish
Twitch.
it were.
What else do we have? Listen to other podcasts on the William & Mary Network at Spreaker. Oh God, Spreaker. Spreaker. This is my lowest point on the podcast. Spreaker.com/user/wm. Shit.
No, you're close.
Wait, I need to just focus my fucking chakras. 1 sec. Spreaker.com/user/PNWM. Is it user?
Yes.
Okay, I almost gave away my home directory on the Fermilab computers. We don't have a Twitter. We don't have a Facebook. Have I got them all?
No.
You're
missing at least one that I can think of.
Shoot.
You're missing 2. I thought of the other one.
I'm missing 2? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Was that one?
I believe it's called iTunes, but good enough.
No, it's not iTunes. It's Apple Podcasts. iTunes is for music only, I think. I think you can do movies there too. Yeah. It's like
this is
the
wild.
Podcast app is like a purple thing. That's my justification. Oh my God, I can cheat. I can look at our episode descriptions. See all episodes, details. Discuss at reddit.com/r/foolsandfiction.
There we go. I can't believe that Reddit was the last one you got. All
I
right.
haven't been on Reddit very much recently.
Me too, honestly. I've been mostly just vibing.
Yeah.
All right. It's time for the tradition. I must end them. Goodbye. Please, for the love of God, turn the podcast off.